Hey everyone, and welcome back to OntarioCyrptids. I hope you all are having a fantastic day today. It is Saturday and a gorgeous sunny day here in Toronto, Canada. I woke up this morning to see that this little channel has surpassed 500 subscribers, all like-minded people who believe in cryptids. Thank you all so much for helping me grow this channel by subscribing. I let out a big cheer, showed my son the surprise, and then we both cheered together. Love you all for all your support. Now, tomorrow, Sunday, when you're all seeing this, I'm going to be prepping for another special event, the Super Bowl. I know Jean, John, and I will be getting ready to cheer for KC. Go Chiefs, go! And I cannot wait. All right, now what you've all been waiting for. Today we have 3 stories which I know you're all going to enjoy. So go grab yourself a beverage, let's get cozy on the couch or chair, and then sit back and relax. All right, for the first story. This one is being told third person. The story occurs at some point in the 1960s in the state of Idaho. I'm not exactly sure where. However, if you take a look, Idaho is a pretty interesting looking state. We have some rocky mountain outcrops, and then there are large parcels of forest all around it. You can see right down, I guess, in the city of Idaho itself, just on the outside there, we have Paiute National Forest. I think I said that right, Paiute. And further north, we have Nez Perce Clearwater National Forest. All right, let's get to the story. All right, so I just want to add that I did get permission to share this story as long as I don't mention any names. Okay, here we go, guys. Like a lot of people, I always wanted to believe in the big hairy guy, but always had a touch of skepticism. I think programs like Finding Bigfoot, which I really enjoyed by the way, didn't stop it as they never found Bigfoot. Plus, as I live in England, not too many people to physically speak to about such a cryptid. But this changed 3 weeks ago. I was on a video call with my boss when her young son walked into the room wearing a Bigfoot jumper. After removing him, we had a laugh, and I mentioned he had good taste as I loved all things squatchy. She asked if I was being polite. I told her no, I was being honest. She then told me a tale. Her mother-in-law was born and bred in Idaho. My boss said she is the most God-fearing woman she has ever met. So when she told my boss her story, she 100% believed her. In the 1960s, when her mother-in-law was about 10, her and a friend went into some woods near her house, as it was a bright summer day to play and do what kids do. As they walked around the bend, they both stopped dead in their tracks as there was the biggest thing the girls have ever seen standing in front of them. Her mother-in-law told my boss that she had an uncle back then who was 6'9" tall, and this thing was well over a foot taller. It had reddish-brown fur all over, a very dark brown face, and smelt like rotten meat. In its hand, it looked like it had a small dead animal. Her mother-in-law told my boss it turned and looked directly at the girls for about 10 seconds, but it felt like an hour, and she wasn't ashamed to admit that she had wet herself. She said the thing she found most remarkable was its eyes, as they were, in her words, like 2 shining pools of gold. After the 10-ish seconds, it turned and walked away, and she could see then how massive it was, like a bull on two legs. Her mother-in-law told my boss this a year before she sadly died. It was imprinted in her memory so vividly that over 45 years later, she remembered every little detail. My boss is one of the best persons I have ever met. She is my youngest daughter's godmother. When she told me this, I had goosebumps all over. My hair stood up, and I had to remind myself to breathe. For all of the above, for the passion my boss showed portraying her mother-in-law, I am now a true believer. To anyone out there who have genuinely seen or heard something that is unexplainable, I salute you. Thank you to my boss for sharing her mother-in-law's story. Great story, well written, and thank you so much for allowing me to share this story. And please thank your boss for me. Yeah, they do say that when you have an incident like this, you will not forget it. And I guess everything is just burned into your memory. All right, let's go on to story number 2. Okay, this story takes place on Vandenberg Airfield Base in Central California sometime in 2013 or 2014. I used to work at Vandenberg Airfield Base in Central California. My office was on top of the mountain that was on ceremonial Chumash land. Whenever ground was broken, we had to have a religious leader come out and bless the ground first. It's usually pretty foggy about halfway up the mountain, and I got used to driving it every day, but you have to keep an eye out for deer, mountain lions, bears, and all sorts of wildlife. One night at about 11 p.m., I was driving down the mountain and had gotten to the point that the fog was gone. In front of me, it was clear, and behind me was just a wall of fog. As I got to a sharp turn, I saw what I thought was a large coyote in the road, so I slammed on the brakes. It looked like it had no fur and was covered in pale, leathery skin with a dog-like head. As I looked at it, it rose up on its hind legs. It was hunched over at maybe 6 feet tall, but if it was standing straight, I'd guess 7 feet. It turned and looked right at me and slowly walked off the road into the bush. At the time, I was doing a class about Native Americans for my degree and was in touch with the Chumash members for my project. I asked them if they knew anything about it, and they simply said, "We don't talk about that." To this day, I'm 100% sure I saw a Skinwalker that night. Before today, I have only mentioned this to my boss who worked in the same building. I had told him I saw something weird on the road the night before. He said that he had seen weird things out there and described something pretty close to what I saw. He was from the area and knew the stories pretty well, so he said that he doesn't really bring it up because it's not good to talk about. I have never heard any more of his story except what it looked like. Just as an extra note, this area is right down the road from the old Chumash cave drawings and burial grounds. Near the end, he adds a little bit more of a description of what this creature looked like, and he says, "The front arms had shoulders like a person. They were long and scrawny and had what looked like hands but with long claws. They just kind of hung in front of it while it walked almost down to its knees. It walked on its hind legs with its shoulders hunched. It looked like it was used to walking on 2 legs, like it was normal, but it did it slowly and kind of strange looking." Well, that was an interesting encounter, and if it is what the Chumash Native Indians think it is, then I see why they don't want to talk about it, because they never speak about those things. However, looking at the Google map, the location of where the Chumash cave drawings are located, that is an interesting location. Just the switchbacks, the mountains, the trees, but there's a lot. It seems to be a mixture of offices and homes in that area. But anyways, yeah, very interesting story. Thank you so much for allowing me to share it. All right, so this is going to be the last story of the day, and this takes place on November 15th of 1997 in the county of Tuolumne in California, and the nearest town is Strawberry. My husband and I were hunting in Sonora. Our location was Eagle Meadows, which is above Strawberry, California, off the California Highway 108. It was a sunny, cold day. We were dressed in our camouflage and began our hunt. We were deep in the woods and climbed down a hillside of boulders and into what looked like a perfect hunting area. Forest on either side of a meadow approximately 300 yards wide. We found pine trees to sit under. They had low branches to await our perfect buck, and so we put on our skunk scent. My husband was approximately 10 feet away from me. We each had views across the meadow, but I could not share his, nor could he share my view, for there was a clump of trees and bushes about 100 yards in front of us and positioned between the trees we were under. About 20 minutes into the hunt, we heard branches breaking across the meadow. My husband quietly told me to be aware of bears, to stay alert. It was approximately 10:30 or 11 a.m. when I looked back across the meadow and saw something that wasn't there 3 to 5 minutes ago. Immediately, I thought, could it be a bear? I rationalized if it was only shadows from trees, a dead log with light coming through. But none of my theories fit. The image I saw was black. The sun was shining from behind it, so the front looked black. Then I thought, it must be a Sasquatch. I saw most of its head, 3/4 of the chest area, and down to what could possibly be the waist. The rest was hidden by trees and bushes. After totally analyzing the figure, the blackness, I thought, if it was a Bigfoot, it must have eyes. I brought my small camouflage binoculars up to my eyes slowly and looked across this meadow. It was then that fear and anxiety prevailed, for I saw 2 yellow eyes watching me very intently. I have never been so scared. I was afraid to move an inch. I continued observing it for about 15 minutes, and he stood there and watched me too. We were both very still. I was wondering if he would move. Why was he so intent on observing me? Then my instinct told me to move and get out of there. I motioned to my husband that I was going back to camp, but I didn't tell him why. My fears didn't allow me to speak. My intent was to leave the area as quickly as possible. I hightailed it back to camp, up the stony hillside and through the woods, all the time looking over my shoulder. Later, when my husband came in, I asked him if he saw anything unusual. He said he didn't. So the Bigfoot didn't walk across the meadow, or my husband would have seen him. The Sasquatch found me. I was there under that tree first, minutes before he came into the area. I honestly believe without a doubt that this was a Sasquatch. I do not believe that it was a dangerous threat to me, or it would have advanced towards me. I don't believe it was a bear, because a bear would not have stood there for so long. I wonder if these creatures are as curious about us as we are them. If only I could go back to that point in time, I would have slowly moved across the meadow towards it to see what it would have done and to investigate further. My husband said, "What would you have done if it charged you?" I said, "Run and scream." My point is, how will anyone ever know the truth if they don't cautiously and tamely approach one? I would love to have the opportunity to go on a real sighting and or search. The opportunity to see a Sasquatch in motion would be awesome. Well, this was an awesome story. I don't know if I have the same enthusiasm to meet a Sasquatch face to face and then casually stroll up to it and hope that it thinks I'm not going to do anything malicious to it. But in any case, this was a great story. Well written. I really enjoy stories that are easy to read, and this one was definitely an easy read story, which makes it more enjoyable for me, and I hope it comes across that way to you guys as well. So that's going to wrap up all the stories for today. We had a little bit of mixture. We had a Bigfoot story in the beginning mixed with a possible Skinwalker story, and then back to another Bigfoot Sasquatch story. But in any case, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I do want to thank you all for coming out and checking out my videos on a weekly basis. I truly enjoy that. And also I want to thank you all again for having this little tiny channel hit 500 subscribers. Thank you so much. I couldn't have done this without you all. You guys are truly the best. Okay. So if you guys have a story that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCyrptids@gmail.com, and I will be more than happy to share your story on this channel. And on that note, you all, you know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. It is Super Bowl time, and all I can say is go Chiefs, go. See you all next week.